Good morning again, friends. This is math. I hope you got the English part 1 and part 2 okay. We're going to work on measurement. We're actually doing the back of page 130. But before we did, we talked about something in our share today that I wanted to show you, and partly because it has something to do with what we're going to do today. In our share, I showed you a little miniature, here it is. A little miniature can. This is like a little miniature. It goes in a kitchen. My mom made a dollhouse of a Christmas kitchen. It was really pretty. But in it, she put this little can of tea. And we talked about this was smaller than an inch. And then we thought, well, how much is a real can? How tall is a real can? And we kind of estimated, and I think we estimated it about 4 inches. And so part of what we're doing today is deciding which measuring tool would be best to measure certain things. We talked about the yardstick, the ruler, and then the tape measure, and the tape measure being nice and soft and flexible. So I have a soup can, and we're going to measure it. We guessed that this was about 4 inches tall. So let's measure it. And remember, when we measure something with our ruler, and this is hard to do on a video because it is all backwards. When we measure something on a ruler, we always start by lining up the ruler, the bottom of the object, with the 0 on the ruler, okay? Let me get a little closer. And zoom in. There we are. Can you see? I lined it up with the bottom of the soup can. There it is right there. And then, let's get it exact. There we go. And then we look at the top of the can. Can you see the top of the can hits right on the number 4? Right there. See it? That's how I know that this is 4 inches tall. Now, we talked about the width being how wide something is, and the height being how tall something is. And then we also talked about the right tool to measure. Now, I can use a ruler to measure my height and measure my width, right? Because my ruler is solid and I don't need it to bend. But what if I wanted to know how many inches around my can was? Well, then I would need to use something that's flexible that I could measure around. Hence, the need for a tape measure. Tape measure is great. Can I measure this? Can I measure the height with this? Yep, no problem at all. I can measure the height with this, and we see it's still 4 inches. See it right there? 4 inches. I can measure the height with this. I can measure the width with this. If I can hold it up like that, I can measure how far across it is with my ruler. But the cool thing about this, that this one can't do, is I cannot bend my ruler around my can I? No, but I can use my tape measure. And the only thing you have to remember about a tape measure is to hold it tight on the 0, and then wrap around till you get the measurement. Okay, I'll show you how that works. Hold it. Get it around here. I'll hold the can on the 0. See that? I hold it right there on the 0. That's where I'm going to put my finger. And then I'm going to wrap it around until it gets back to my finger. All right. Now, it's kind of hard to see and even harder to do in a video. But it's about right here. The start mark is about right. I lost it. If I used a piece of tape, this would be easier, but I don't have one handy. Okay, So the start mark is about right where my finger is. See it? You see, did you catch it a little bit there, that little silver? Try it again. We'll get this. We are indefatigable, persistent. All right, there it is. Can you see it just right there on the edge of the silver? Okay, and when I wrap my measuring tape around, it comes about to this line right here. Okay, I'm going to point it out to you here. Now this line is after the 8, so not quite to the 9. So it's about 8.5 inches long, or inches around. 8.5. See it right there? Okay, that's how you use a tape measure, and you can use it for all sorts of things. You can use it for big things. I think last time they asked you what you would use to measure around the trunk of a tree. You think you can go around the trunk of a tree with this? You can if it's a smallish tree. It's one of those big, big, big trees. Maybe you need something a little bigger. But there you go. So let's pull up today's page, which is 130. It was fun. I love measurement. Measurement is so much fun. Let's share my screen and we'll pull up page 130. There it is waiting for me, nice and patiently. It's right here. I'm going to come to the bottom and go right here on page 130. All right, this is the page you're looking for. What do you do if you don't have it? Just write your answers on paper. That's okay. I've seen a lot of it. When I got the packets yesterday, I saw a ton of it, and perfect. Absolutely perfect. If you don't have the sheet, just write your answers on paper. It's all good. I can find it. I can see it. You guys do your spacing nicely. I have no complaints. You guys are fantastic. All right. So let's go to the top of the page and put our name and date. Okay. And it's going to ask us some questions, okay? I'm going to help you with this, but not give you the answers to this. So you really need to pay attention on this, because remember, the back of the page is the one that you do more independently, okay? So the first one says, complete the statement. Oh, I see a tie-in. I see a tie-in. We just talked in English about statement and what kind of a punctuation mark a statement gets and what a statement is. A statement is you're just saying something, okay? And here on these, they're just telling us something. So a statement gets a period at the end. And this statement about a statement is a statement. So you can see where they put a period right there at the end of that direction. They're not shouting it at us. They're not asking us a question. They're simply telling us something. So the punctuation mark is going to be a period. See how that ties into English? Everything hooks together. Beautiful. So the directions say complete the statement, and we just have to fill in what goes in here. 36 inches equals how many yards? And this is the symbol for yard. 36 inches equals how many yards? I'm going to give you a clue here. Oh, there it is. 36 inches. It's right there at the end. There it is. At the end equals how many yards? So you're way back. You're standing on the stove. How many of these equals 36 inches? I'm going to let you put that answer right in there. Okay. And the next one says, 12 inches equals how many feet? 12 inches is how many of these? Hold it up. There it is. All the way to the end. I'll show you it. There. 12 inches is how many of these? If you think it's 7, write 7 here. If you think it's 1, write 1 here. Okay. And here's the tricky. It says 1 yard is how many feet? There's my yard. Yard. How many of these fit on this? Remember, we've been counting that out. How many of these fit on this? Put that answer. If you think it's 5,000, put 5,000. If you think it's 1, put 1. If you think it's 3, put 3. If you think it's 24 and a hamburger, put that in here. Okay? Very good. Now, the next part says, think of the real object. Circle the measurement. Here we're kind of estimating in our head. We're picturing in our head. I don't really have a globe right here to use, but it's asking me to think about how long it is. What makes sense here? And remember, if I'm going around something or around something this way, it's best to use my tape measure. Okay? So if I were going around the globe, if I were going to make a circle around my globe with my tape measure, would it be about 3 inches long? Which would be like this. That's 3 inches. That's 3 inches right there. Would it be about 3 feet? And remember I said 3 feet was a yard or 36 inches. And let me show you that. It's about that big around. You see it there? About that big around. Does that look about right to you? That's 3 feet. Or 3 yards, which would be, wow, I don't even have a tape measure that big, but it'd be about 3 of these big circles. So that would be huge, 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 like this. You see me? Like this. So what do you think? The distance around the globe, is it about 3 inches, 3 feet, or 3 yards? Circle your answer. All right. Very good. Now we get to number 5, which is a table, measuring a table. And we kind of talked about that the other day because I'm sitting at a table. And what would the measurement be of a table? If you think a table is 2 inches, which is this long, circle 2 inches. If you think it's 2 feet, which is going to be about 2 of these, circle that. Or if you think a big table, a big dining room table, is about 2 of these long, circle that. How big do you think a table is? Okay, here you go. Make your choice up here. 2 inches, 2 feet, or 2 yards. You're doing great. Great, 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 great. All right. Now, the next directions, and you can listen and repeat. Circle the better measurement unit. Is it better to measure these things in inches or in yards? inches or yards? All right, I'm getting dizzy moving back and forth. If I'm measuring the length of a kite string, the length of the string on the kite, is it going to be better to use inches or yards? If you think it's inches, circle that. If you think it's yards, circle that. Okay? And now my next question says, how far can you throw a ball? Can you throw a ball 3 inches or 3 yards? Way up there measuring, throwing a ball. The height of a bird. Bird's about that tall. Is that going to be inches or is that going to be yards? What do you think? Inches or yards to measure a bird? Circle your choice. The next one wants to know the length of a bridge. If you're driving on a bridge, is that going to be inches long or yards long? Or if you're walking on a bridge, inches long or yards long? Make your choice. And then the next one wants to know the length of your shoe. Would we measure that with inches or would we measure that with yards? Go ahead and make your choice. Very good. Very good, very good, very good. The next one says, mark the better tool. Says, the Smiths want to put a fence around their backyard. Which tool should they use to measure how much fencing they will need? Do they want to use, and here brings up a different one. I forgot to even mention this. This measuring tape is 36 inches, or 60 inches long. And we use this to measure things around the house, smaller things. But there's another measuring tape, and maybe you remember seeing your dad use this one. It comes, I'll show you it next. I'll bring it for the next class. It's a tool, and it's about this big, and then you pull it out from the bottom. You pull the measuring out from the bottom, and it's way, 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 way long. And it's used for measuring big things, like things outside. So that's also called a measuring tape. And I didn't even think to put those two together, but I'll show you one next class. I think I've got one over in my toolbox there. So if I'm measuring a fence, am I going to use an inch ruler? Or am I going to use a measuring tape, one of these big long measuring tapes? If you think I should use a ruler, put a color in this one. You think I should use a big measuring tape, color this one. You are doing great. Now, the bottom of this page, and I'll let you do most of this on your own. I'll give you a few freebies on this one, and then we'll do the rest on their own. Write greater than, less than, or equal to compare. You're comparing these two numbers. You're going to remember the alligator eats the bigger one. Okay? So you can use greater than, less than, or equal to. That means they're the same number. So let's do a few. I'll give you a few freebies. The first one is 25 and 52. And remember, for this math, we look in the tens place. Which number is bigger, 2 or 5? 5 is bigger. Would you rather have 25 cookies or 52 cookies? Oh yeah, give me 52 cookies, especially if they're the good Girl Scout Thin Mints, right? I know, they're the best. So we're going to, in this one, put our alligator mouth open to the 52. All right. Now let's look over at, let's do this one right here. Let's go over to 14. I have the number 47 and the number 47. Is one of those numbers bigger than the other, or are they both the same? That's right, they're both the same. So in this, we're going to put equal to, okay? Because they're equal, they're exactly the same. All right, and let's do one more. Let's do a less than. Let's do this one right here. I have the number 19 and the number 15. Would the alligator rather have, or would you rather have 19 cookies or 15 cookies, or $19 or $15? I know, right? I'd rather have $19. Think of how many cookies you could buy with that. So there you go. All right. There you have it. I'm going to let you finish up all of these. This one, this one, these, these. Okay. Go this way. There you go. So you don't forget what you need to finish. I will see you back here shortly for handwriting. Keep up the good work. I'm going to go find that tape measure.